Hey everybody, Reaper here again with another video. Discussion topic today. Do you collect rare comic books? Well, I had a few rare comic books in my collection. I don't know how many I still have in my collection because I've sold off a lot to get comic books that I really want in my collection, whether they're rare or not. I don't know. I'd have to sit there and think about it a little bit more, but there are some rare books that I would like to collect and like to bring into my collection one day. But I guess we have to take a look at, before we even get into that, I don't want to spend too much time on it, just to start a quick conversation on it. Well, what constitutes a rare comic book? Are comic books even rare? Years ago, when you used to have to collect comic books by, obviously going to conventions and maybe comic book stores. Aside from that, you would send out, I sent out for this mail-away comic list from some guy up in Canada. I talked about this in a previous video years ago. But he would send a list and all the comics that he has, and these are the conditions, these are the prices, and you call or you place an order and you'd get your comic. Can you imagine something like that today? Where you have to send away for a list of books that they have, and you just gotta write them a check or a money order, and hopefully you'll get it sometime. They didn't provide you with any tracking number or anything like that. It's crazy, but that's the way it was back in the early 90s. But anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because on that paper, and I still have part of it, I did a video on this about maybe 4 years ago, I forget. He stated that he did not get books after 1975 or 1976. He didn't keep inventory of that. So if you were looking for, let's say, Days of Future Past, X-Men 141, or X-Men 266, first full appearance of Gambit, he didn't carry those. And the reason why he said he didn't carry those is because he felt that the rarity of books after 1975 did not exist. He felt that comic books that were worthwhile having had some scarcity to them. And books that were just overproduced really don't help the hobby, and they're not really going to be of that much value. Well, I guess he didn't think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. But look, that's a rare case, no pun intended. You have a couple like that over the years, but not too many. In this age, which ETA Nick coined the term, the variant age, these rare books, these variants, if you will, some of the variants, they're manufactured to be rare. Some of the other rare books, and we'll get back into the rare collecting that have come out maybe like Turtles 1, or before, like what this guy said, before 1975, maybe there wasn't a high print run not because people were trying to keep the print run low because they wanted to inflate the price. Don't mind the airplane flying. I live not too far from that's really close. I live not too far from a Cessna, where you can get your pilot's license and fly. I've often thought about doing that, but I don't know. I'm kind of afraid of flying, so maybe not. But anyway, I digress. Getting back to it, reason why maybe some of them had low print runs was because they didn't think that people were going to buy them, or maybe they just. The demand for them wasn't so big, like Turtles 1. It was an independently published book. They weren't purposely trying to keep, I forget what number it is. Was it 5,000 first prints out there? I don't know. You correct me. I don't know too much about it. That's one book I'd like to add to my collection one day, first print. But maybe you can tell me. Look, it wasn't because we're gonna make sure this is nice and rare. We can get more interest in the book. I don't think that was the case for a lot of books that are considered scarce. One book, so that's what I think about when it comes to rare books. Other rare books. Now I heard rare, scarce. I'll use those words interchangeably. Maybe I'm using them incorrectly. I don't know. I don't think so. I've often heard, and this is, maybe you heard this too, I've often heard that Silver Surfer 4 is a more scarce book. Now, does that necessarily make it super rare? I don't think so. I mean, I see that book for sale all the time. So I don't know how rare it can be. Now, with the other thing I mentioned, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, first print, yeah, I see that for sale too, but not as often as I see Silver Surfer 4. So I don't know. So I guess it's important to identify what rare is when it comes to collecting. I'll talk about a couple more things when it comes to rare. I think that some of the Golden Age books are rare. And again, it could be because of low print run. A lot of Golden Age books maybe came out, well, maybe not a lot, but there were several that came out during World War II where paper was maybe not as widely available. There's several of those books. I think this even spills into the 1960s, but I think this is more of a production error. But there were several books in the World War II era, early 40s, that only have one staple because they're trying to cut back costs, right? So I would say that they're probably more desirable, more leaning towards the rare spectrum because of maybe not so many were produced, or just because they're just not available anymore. A lot of those books are just simply not out there anymore because they were either really destroyed over the years for a number of reasons. If you were in the 1950s and you thought that horror comics were corrupting the youth, you threw your comics in a big bonfire outside, and that's why they're rare now. But I would say if we're talking about rare, do you have rare comics? I have a decent amount of golden books, but I wouldn't say that any of them are truly super rare. I have Crime Patrol 15, which is the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper. I see it out there every now and then, but I don't see much of it. It could be just because people are holding on to it, and one day there'll be more of them out there. I don't know. That could be the case with that book and some other books. I don't think it's going to be the case with Crime Patrol 15, but you never know. So it might constitute as a rare book. But, there are a lot of other books out there. Sometimes people put, I'll close with this. When they're talking about rare books, they usually attach a high dollar value. And yeah, there are a lot of rare books out there that have a high dollar value. Turtles, as I mentioned before. The Albedo 2. I used to have that book, but I got rid of it. No regrets on that. Cerebus, the Aardvark, right? That's a rare book. It came out, I forget, in the 1970s. I don't remember. Bone #1, first print. It's kind of rare because there's a low print run. Even Walking Dead #1. That's one I'd like to bring back in my collection. There are two different versions of Walking Dead #1. One with a white print that says mature readers and a black print mature readers. At one time I had both. I'd like to bring that back, but either one is kind of rare because it had a lower print run. And again, it wasn't because it's a variant or that was the intent. It's because sometimes publishers they don't want to take a risk with certain books because it may not be successful and it costs money to put these things out. Walking Dead turned out to be a success. Good, great, but I think that the variants today that's manufactured, which I think is not good. I just don't think it's good. But when it comes to some rare books, I think people tend to think that rarer books are more expensive. And again, in many cases, that's true. That is true. But then again, you might have a rare book and no one cares about it and may not be willing to pay a certain price on it. So that also, you have to factor that in as well. Like Amazing Fantasy 15 and Incredible Hulk 181. They're high dollar, usually high value books, right? Yeah, I know they came down a little bit, but they're still high dollar books. But they are most certainly not rare. You could look on the internet, you could go to comic shows, you could watch comic channels like this, and you'll see an Amazing Fantasy 15. It's not like, oh wow, no one seems to have that book. Or, oh my God, no one seems to have Incredible Hulk 181. You don't have to go too far to see somebody showing off their Amazing Fantasy 15 or Incredible Hulk 181. Now, when it comes to rare for Amazing Fantasy 15, I would say it's rarer in higher grades. When you see it like at 8.0, 9.0, because it's notorious because it has the Marvel chipping. So that's why it may not get the highest, one of those high grades. If you see one for a 9.0, that's pretty rare. But it's also pretty rare somebody owning it because it's so expensive, But Incredible Hulk 181s, higher grade 9.8s, 9.4s. I don't think they're terribly rare. I mean, I don't regularly see a 9.8 Incredible Hulk 181, so might consider see it to be a bit scarce, but I'm sure you could find it if you're looking hard enough. So that's what I think about rare comics. Like, I don't think I have too many rare comics unless we count like the pre-codes that sometimes you just don't see. But are they truly rare? Don't know. But I'd be interested in hearing what you think about this. Do you have any rare books? Do you collect rare books? Let me know in the comments. Thank you, everybody. Take care.